Enjoy the show.
Mission complete!
Hey, I'm John, and do you remember the good old days of arcades, popping in a few quarters, playing some great and memorable games, all while being in the comfort of your own friends while being surrounded by dozens of other people doing the exact same thing? You might have played a few classics such as Street Fighter, House of the Dead, or Crazy Taxi. And the game I'm going to cover today also falls into the same period of now, admittedly very old but nostalgic arcade title. And you might have guessed from either the title of this video, or the first 10 seconds, or just plain luck, that I'm going to be talking about the Metal Slug series, a franchise of run-and-gun games collectively featuring you playing as a soldier against the evil army in a classic run-and-gun type game. I first got introduced to playing this game in the late 2000s, when I was still in my young teens, in an arcade near the Chinatown where I used to live. The game where I spent all my quarters on every week, just for a chance of actually beating all the levels. Though I never did get a chance to complete my dream, partially because I was still so bad at the game to actually do it. So it wasn't just until last year, where on a trip to Japan, I was finally able to financially afford the credits to actually cheese through a completion of the game with a friend of mine, although at a whole 100 yen per play rather than a cheap quarter. But all of this is mainly done in Metal Slug 2, and the franchise has evolved so much since then. So strap in as I take you on a journey through my experiences with this beloved classic, the rest that came along with it. This is my experience with Metal Slug. From the get-go, Metal Slug is as straightforward as it seems. It was published in the late 90s by a Japanese studio called SNK, who, among other things, also developed the Neo Geo platform and the popular fighting game King of Fighters. The classic formula features side-scrolling run-and-gun type gameplay, which puts you in the shoes of an elite soldier from a cast of many on a mission to stop a villainous army from taking over the world. And each game features 6 full-length levels to play through, all with their own distinct setting, ranging from abandoned subways, ancient Egyptian temples, to, well, literally Chinatown. Still though, the core mechanics of Metal Slug are deceptively simple. You navigate through the level going from left to right, all while shooting enemies, avoiding hazards, and dodging everything the game's gonna try to throw at you. And with that, all you have is the ability to move, shoot, and throw grenades. The most defining aspect of Metal Slug gameplay is its weapon system. Throughout the level, you'll occasionally notice boxes that just happen to look like these spread around. And it just so happens that when we pick them up, it allows us to swap to a different weapon with a limited amount of ammo. And these can range from something as plain as a heavy machine gun, to rockets, flamethrowers, and even a drone with a bomb attached to it. But not only that, we can also take control of a variety of weapons spread across the map, including the iconic Metal Slug tank itself. These vehicles offer increased firepower and protection, meaning that unlike the moments where you actually die in one hit, your vehicle can actually tank a few shots for you. All of this while having their own movement mechanic that offers a lot of variety to the game. And alongside the standard run-and-gun gameplay, it also features an iconic boss at the end of each level, which I would say as a kid is what I lost a fair share of my coins to. All of this while being a game that supports local multiplayer, because after all, it was made for the arcades rather than the home entertainment system we have now. And with that, the same expectations that you would have with any arcade game. The formula set up with the first game in the franchise in 1998 had me hooked, and hopefully by the end of this video, maybe you too. This is one of my favorite franchises, so it wasn't that much of a surprise to me that even a decade later, I still enjoyed the hell out of this game. The core gameplay of this still feels as fresh as it did back then when I first played it, and the graphics and audio design of this game has aged quite well over the years, with the original coming to almost 30 quite soon. And I think one of the main reasons that this game is so fun is because of just how fast-paced the game itself feels without being too overbearing. In a true run-and-gun fashion, there's never any dull point in the game. Every moment my eyes were glued on the screen, and I was either actively engaged in combat or watching a short but lovable cutscene at times. And I think the best example of this is all the way in Metal Slug 3, which in the final mission, upon being baited into thinking the final boss was over after being destroyed, is abruptly stopped by a greatly timed alien abduction that stole the character I was currently playing as. Quickly followed up by auto-selecting another elite character and blasting off into space, all while teaming up with the exact enemies I was just fighting 20 seconds ago, all in an attempt to save, well, myself. With gameplay of an outer space flying segment with its own weapons and great music shortly after. And it's moments like these that I found to be the most enduring and memorable. So much so that I would say it's one of the few levels that I still vividly remember from any game I've ever played. And trust me that when I say that, there are countless of other examples of great action sequences in this franchise as well. So much so that when I saw them again for the first time, I felt an adrenaline rush that kept me glued to the screen, socketing quarters end on end. Or at least pretending to nowadays anyways. But all that aside, by far the best part of Metal Slug would be the variety of weapons and other power-ups you can get, with honestly each edition in the franchise getting more and more ridiculous. From machine guns to homing rockets to lasers and even a katana, there's really no comparison to the feeling you get from actually having a powerful weapon and moving around hoarding down waves of enemies coming by. And part of this is just how impactful they are in the game compared to the dull pistol you get at the start, but also the visual and audio impact you feel just using them. Hearing the shotgun blast, or in particular the laser's incredible ear-piercing sound, to me never gets old. So much so that seeing a laser in the later levels is still one of the coolest feelings I have with this game, and running out of ammo makes me disappointed at coming back for more. But let's not forget the iconic slugs as well. From the original Metal Slug tank to the Slug Flyer, each one with its own unique characteristics, the vehicles in Metal Slug are fun to use as they are powerful. And they give a lot of variety to a game that would otherwise be a bit lacking, especially in the movement department. And by far the most unique segment I think would be the Sluganoid in Metal Slug 2, which is a slug with a cannon and machine gun solely for jumping up and down, which when facing the boss it was put for felt awfully cinematic. But I think above all, the most enjoyable aspect of this game would be its sense of humor that it brings, and you can see this across both in its pixelated art style as well as some of the crazier gameplay antics that it offers. From some of the more exaggerated character animations to over-the-top boss battles, there's a playful charm to this game that I think keeps you smiling even after playing it over and over. And it's this unique blend of humor and excitement that makes Metal Slug so fun to play, and especially watch in an arcade. Whether that would be having a monkey as a side gunner, eating too much food and becoming fat, or suddenly finding yourself as a zombie or mummy, which, yes, do come with their own abilities too. I think it's really all the love and thought that the developers put into this game that makes it so fun, and to showcase how good of an idea that they have both about the game's atmosphere, but also who their audience is. Best of all, you don't have to enjoy this alone, since it also features a co-op multiplayer experience that lets you team up with another friend of yours to beat the game with. And honestly, I think that's how the peak of this game was meant to be played, side by side in an arcade. I still haven't gotten a 1-coin run before on a few of the titles. Playing it again, trying to accomplish that goal is something that still brings me a lot of joy, and until I beat it, I simply just have to keep playing it over and over. But just like any other game, it's not really fair to talk about it without sharing some of the downsides about Metal Slug. For one, this game is really old, and even getting a chance to play this game can be quite a chore. There are 7 games in the main run-and-gun pixel-style title, of which only 3 are available on Steam as of date. And unless you have a console, playing can really only be done via an emulator, which, while sometimes straightforward, is less than ideal. But the real kicker is that even if you can get the game up and running, this game can suffer from performance issues due to just how old it is, and it's easily prone to lagging. And while I wholeheartedly defend the art style of this game, playing it in a less than native resolution and aspect ratio with the game stretched can, not look great at times. Each game in the franchise is also relatively short, clocking in at around an hour from start to finish. It's an arcade game after all, and it's intended for you to replay until you can get a perfect run. So while fun for me and many others, this along with the game not having as much depth as say a more modern game in the same genre such as Mercenary Kings or Cuphead can be a bit underwhelming at times. I would say that Metal Slug's reliance on its overly arcade style mechanics is both a good and bad thing. While the game's straightforward approach is part of its charm, compared to the standards of modern games, there really isn't much room for replayability or progression that may leave some craving for more substance. And I think it's fair to say for some, it's one of those games you see and try for a bit but can grow quite bored of quite fast. But still, while all of this is true, it nonetheless makes the experience of trying it out a blast, and hopefully one day, a more modern sequel will come. While the original Metal Slug game holds a special place in my heart as a classic arcade masterpiece, the franchise had seen its fair share of up and downs over the years, with a number of sequels and spin-offs releasing since its debut, all in an attempt to evolve and adapt to the new trends while trying to stay to its roots. Following the success of the original Metal Slug, a slew of sequels were released, each building upon the core gameplay mechanics and adding new weapons, slugs, and levels to the mix. Metal Slug 2, 3, and X are often cited as the highlights of the series, and most of the gameplay in this video stem from those exact titles. However, as more titles continued to be developed, it began to show signs of mediocrity. While later entries in the title featured the same run-and-gun gameplay with the same pixelated charm as its predecessors, some felt that the franchise was not innovating and becoming increasingly formulaic, with each additional title adding nothing more to the mix other than just levels. And as games moved away from the arcades into the homes of many, followed by smartphones quickly after, the franchise was having a tough time staying competitive. And it tried to do so by adapting to the mobile market with Metal Slug Awakening, but the transition to 3D and all its quirks that comes with mobile games, it simply just became a different game with only the same thing being the lore. The game has also tried its hand at entering other genres with games like Metal Slug Defense and Attack, both being tower defense games, and even a brand new tactical strategy game coming in soon. And although it looks really promising, none had the same run and gun playstyle that the games were originally known for, with a dedicated player base waiting patiently one day when a true sequel will inevitably arrive. Now, you might be thinking, why bother with a game like Metal Slug when there are plenty of newer and more graphically impressive shooters out there? And I'm not gonna sit there saying that I'm not viewing this with rose-tinted glasses or anything, but still, I like to think there's a certain purity in these arcade games like Metal Slug that modern games just can't replicate. It's a reminder of a simpler time, without all the focus on meta progression or multiplayer competitive matches today. And for me, it's a game that at its core is still as solid as ever. From its great gameplay to its charming retro aesthetic, Metal Slug holds a special place in my heart. And I think if you're ever in the mood for a classic arcade action game, do yourself a favor and give this game a try. And trust me, I think you won't be disappointed. So, as always, thanks for watching. Until next time.